The civil engineer? There was two engineers on staff.
I'm right.
Good evening, everyone. We'll call this Town of Springfield Zoning Board of Review meeting for January 8th, 2025 to order at 6 p.m. Before we begin, I'd like to have the the emergency evacuation notice. Do you have that?
I do.
Do you mind reading that for everyone?
Okay, in case of an emergency, there are two main exits out of the chambers. The first is to the right side of the stage, up the stairs, through the doorway, and down the stairway out to the back side of the hall. The second is out the back of the chambers to the exit doorway, to the stairway out the front of the town hall. The men's facilities are through the back of the chambers, past the stairway, around the corner on the right, and the ladies' facilities are through the back door of the chamber, straight up the stairs and on the left. Please do not use the elevator in times of emergencies.
Thank you. And before we begin tonight, the members here are Frank Smith, voting member. You're now a member, or you
Correct.
Member John Hunt, voting member. Member Richard Rutherly, who's going to be a voting member. Member Brian Thalman, alternate member tonight. And member Edward Savito, who's going to be a voting member. Our court reporter is Carol Ogden. My name is David Ursillo. I'm the assistant solicitor tonight filling in. Due to the resignation of our chair, Mr. Jim Buzzum, and member Linda Marcel not being able to handle the temporary chair duties, we do not have a chair at this time. Therefore, what my plan is that we're going to take nominations for a temporary chair until we have elections in June. So tonight, I'd like to ask for any nominations for anyone who would like to have someone become temporary chair until elections in June.
I'd like to make a nomination, temporary chair, Richard Leverly.
Nomination has been made. Any second?
I'd like to second that.
That's been seconded by Member Smith. Any other nominations? Once? Twice? All right. 3 times. Very good. We'll do a vote. Let's have a motion to nominate Mr. Leverly as a temporary chair.
Make a motion that we nominate Mr. Leverly as the temporary chair.
Any second?
Second.
And no discussion? Let's have a vote. Member Smith. Yes.
I motion to approve, I vote to approve.
Aye.
Aye, yes.
Mr. Leverly? All right. Mr. Leverly, the chair is now yours. We'll begin with communications.
There are no communications at this time.
Okay. There is no old business, so we have new business. Sharon, do you want to read those, please?
25-001, Edward P. Duffy and Edward A. Duffy as applicants and owners of property located at 310 Mountaindale Road, listed as Plat 18, Lot 80, seek a use variance to deviate from Section 4.3.B.9, dwelling, single-family detached, and dimensional variances from Section 5.4, Table 1, dimensional regulations, and 5.3.4.b buffers to construct a single-family home in an industrial district.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Timothy Kane. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in the state of Rhode Island, and I have an office at 627 Putnam Pike in Greenville. And I do represent the applicants Edward P. and Edward A. Duffy, and that is a father and son combination. And Edward P. Duffy is the father, and he's behind me, and he will testify briefly tonight. The applicants are before you seeking dimensional variances and a use variance necessary to construct what we will show as a modest single-family residence on the subject property. I think you can see, or we will show you that the property is certainly unique. It's a large lot, it's 1.2 acres, but it definitely has some restrictions and constraints, given the shape of the lot, the existence of wetlands, and the fact that the property is zoned industrial, despite the fact that I would argue that the immediate area on Mountaindale Road can be characterized as residential. So I'm just going to go through the variances quickly with you, and we are going to ask to amend the application because something was picked up at the last minute that we didn't pick up, and it wasn't picked up through the staff review, but I think it's nothing earth-shattering. It's kind of a housekeeping matter, for lack of a better term. So we're asking relief from the front yard setback. Of course, it's zoned industrial, all right? So the industrial setback is 100 feet. I think in the residential, I should know this, but I think the residential setback would probably be 30, okay? And depending on what it was zoned, if it was zoned R20. We're asking for 90 feet of relief. The house would be set back 10 feet off the property line, but keep in mind, and I'm sure Mr. Casali will hit on it, but it would actually be 21 feet off the edge of pavement. So even though it's 10 feet off the property line, the house itself would sit 21 feet off the edge of pavement on Mountaindale Road. The minimum side yard setback is 40 feet, and we're proposing 32 feet, so we're requesting 8 feet of relief on that. And structures, we're requesting relief from Article 5.3.4, which states structures erected in a non-residential zone within shouldn't be within 100 feet of a residential zone. Again, it's zoned industrial, so it's kind of throwing a curveball at us with regard to the setbacks. So the proposed structure is 32 feet away from a residential zone. So we're asking for relief of 68 feet from that. Again, if it was zoned residential, we wouldn't be asking for that. And as I jump around on you, I know the staff report said if this comes before them again, all right, when they're redoing zoning, they recommend that it would go to R20. All right, but not our job tonight, but in the long run, if you see fit to grant approval and when the town updates its map, I would think they'll zone this R20. That would only make sense. And there's one more we need. And it's an odd one. It's, we're going to ask to amend our application, and I would suggest that the way the matter was advertised, it was broad enough that we could do that, and we said we're requesting variances. And the thing we're looking for relief from is Article 5.3.1A3, and that says, and again, in non-residential and planned development zoning districts, a buildable lot area shall be required whereby at least 50% of the lot's square footage is composed of contiguous buildable land, exclusive of land unsuitable for development as defined in section 6.8.1 of this ordinance. So, and the lot meets all other dimensional requirements. I can tell you that the state law was changed, so no longer can you count slopes and wetland buffer, okay, as non-buildable land. And then I believe we're asking for a 20,000 square foot variance from the section. And I'm just going to jump ahead for a second, Joe, and ask you to kind of articulate that to the board because it's beyond my mathematical ability. So.
Yeah. Just for the record, my name is Joe Fasali. I'm a registered professional engineer with Office 633.
Joe, before can you swear in, please? Okay, let's see. Do you swear to tell the truth and the whole truth, so help you God? Okay.
So what Tim is articulating is the lot's about 50,000 square feet and about 1.2 acres. So you would need roughly 25,000 square feet of contiguous buildable lot area. And as he stated, the legislature recently, as last year, removed slopes, buffers, and I believe floodplains from that. So we have about 5,000 square feet of contiguous buildable lot area of the 25,000 square feet needed. respectfully requesting 20,000 square feet of relief. And I can explain that thoroughly in a minute when we get to the
Okay.
So procedurally, I make a motion, do you guys make a motion? I forgot how we do that, as far as amending the application. Dave?
Someone can make a motion to amend the application to include the additional dimensional variance request.
I make a motion to amend the application as per stated by the attorneys.
Second?
Call for a discussion.
Call for discussion. Anybody have any questions or concerns on this?
Tim, do you also need to add 5.3.4.a, which is,
I believe we don't, because we're, and I'm sure through the PowerPoint, we're out of the floodplain where the building will be built. It's a flood zone X.
because the regs still say buffer?
The regs are not in conformity with state law. We can ask for it out of abundance of caution.
That's kind of where I was going with it, is out of an abundance of caution, it's in there.
Your local regs certainly don't report to any legislation. And the third one that was brought up, we believe we will handle any approval we will ask for you tonight will be contingent on
DM.
If you want to make a motion, you're an alternate, right, Mr. Tolman? I don't think we need it, but I'd hate to come back before you, because, again, I think it's a
That
housekeeping
was
matter.
kind of the whole premise.
It's a housekeeping matter, and it's not, it doesn't go to the essence of the application. The application is something you'll pass judgment on when you hear all the testimony. So
Is
if
there any other questions on this?
No.
All right. So we have a motion.
Can we have one more motion to amend, just, and I apologize, we did work a lot on this application, and went through staff review. I don't know if you, Brian, you have the engineering background, you took a look at this afternoon, and we got these about an hour and a half ago, so we're addressing them the best we can. If someone wanted to make a motion out of an abundance of caution, I don't think we need it, because I think state law trumps, but it couldn't hurt to ask for it, to ask for relief
Yeah,
from.
in an effort to move the discussion, I'll move to amend the amendment to include section 5.3.4.a related to structures within jurisdictional wetlands or buffers.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All approved?
Aye.
Aye.
So, Mr. Casali, could you go through your PowerPoint presentation, please?
Sure. So good evening, Mr. Chairman, congratulations.
Thank you.
Coming as the head of the
Got big shoes to fill.
Yeah, you do.
Jim was doing this for a long time, so.
So again, just for the record, Joe Casali, registered professional engineer, offices 300 Post Road in Warwick, if I may, Mr. Chairman. As Attorney King said, we're here for a use variance on a single-family home and an industrial lot. In terms of where we are in the city, or in the town, Pleasant View Ave, 116, Springville Road, and then Mountaindale. And that is about as unique of a property as I've ever seen in 30-some odd years of doing this. I believe this was a residual parcel that was left over from the industrial park. It really follows the Stillwater River right through it, which is why it's so encumbered by wetlands, and even has bifurcations in the open lot. There's another shot of the lot. This is the current zoning, which hopefully leads to our argument of why we think this should be a residential use. You can see all the abutting parcels, while some of them are industrial, majority of the residential pieces that abut all pieces that abut are residential. That's the primary piece where you'll see we're proposing the only place that we can propose at any year, opiate structure. see, run right through the property, almost north to south because of the Stillwater River. So in terms of jurisdictional area, 200 feet off that center line of the river, the entire piece is under DM's jurisdiction, which is why we would ask anything, any type of recommendation or approval tonight would be contingent upon our DM approval. So looking closer at the lot, you can see the edge of the Stillwater River, and that's the actual edge of the freshwater wetlands delineated back in October of 23 by Natural Resource Services. As we stated, the entire piece is encumbered by a buffer zone. When you look at the floodways and flood zones, that's the regulatory floodway for the Stillwater River. There's also flood zone X, which is the 500-year storm in that particular area. We have the 100-year storm, and then that is.
What's the 100-year storm?
500 years is down in here.
Yeah. How about the last 100-year we just had?
100 year is in this general area. And then this is the piece that's going to be free from wetlands, going to be free from flood, but will be within the wetland buffer, so that'll necessitate us applying for a wetlands permit.
Is the house going to be built on top, or is this going to be leveled off a little bit, just put a foundation? I'm assuming that they're going to have a basement foundation or something?
Yeah, so our proposal, as you can see, will be a pretty modest single-family home. That's about a 900 square foot footprint. That's a 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling. It also has a 2-car garage. And then when you put in the driveway, you're gonna need to have some boulder walls with some plantings here so we can grade this for you. So that's a typical house that you see being built in town, which we would propose. That's a 3-bedroom, but small footprint, and obviously the garage is hidden over there.
So the living space is 900 square feet?
The footprint is 900 square feet, it'll probably be about 1,600 feet of total living area.
Called second floor?
Yeah. So as Attorney Kane stated, one, we need a use variance, and that's, as you all know, agencies and zoning board, it's a very difficult standard to prove. It's only one standard, that there's no other beneficial use on the property. Meaning we can't put anything here but what we're asking for, and that is why we probably don't see many use variances. But we think that this is a very good application for such as that. What else would possibly be able to go here in terms of industrial use on such a small footprint? The commercial uses would get eaten up by parking. With all of the abutting single-family homes and a modest home fitting in here, we think it's a reasonable request. We're confident it will be approved by DEM in such a manner as presented, but the use variance is required by the zoning board, Mr. Chairman. There's also other dimensional relief requested. A front yard setback in that industrial zone is enormous at 100 feet. We're obviously as close as we can to the roadway, while we're 21 feet off the edge of pavement. What really matters in zoning world is we're only 10 feet from that front property line, so we're asking for 90 feet of relief. And the same with the side yard setback. It's very large in an industrial at 40 feet. We're 32 feet, asking for 8 feet of relief. And this one too is a little bit of an oddity, that structures can't be erected in a non-residential zone within 100 feet of a residential zone. And it makes sense that you don't want industry so close to residential, but in this case, even though we're proposing residential next to residential, we still need to ask, because we're only 32 feet from that side yard, we've got to ask for 68 feet of relief. And then the other 3 items we just discussed, which was the 5.3.1.83, where you see, Mr. Chairman, we only have about 5,000 square feet of living lot area, meaning 25,000, we're asking for 20,000 square feet of relief. In terms of permitting, we're here tonight for a use variance. We still need, this is gonna be a formal wetlands application. We have that, the application, we use the PDF. Sewer authority, Greenville Water, because both this house will hopefully be serviced by sewer and water, and then ultimately, building permit. Mr. Duffy is here with us tonight as the owner. I know Mr. Kane has some
Just a
follow-up questions for me that we can get into.
So Mr. Casali, the house would be located 10 feet off the property line. Is that consistent with other houses in the immediate area?
Yeah, when you look at the area, when you look at the other houses in the area, that is consistent with that area of Mountaindale Road. You can see a lot of the houses are within that buffer zone, a little bit closer to the roadway. As you all know, Mountaindale Road was an old portion of road.
And I think you hit on this a little bit. Could this, you're familiar with the Smithfield zoning ordinance and what it's allowed in an industrial zone? And it's your testimony that it wouldn't be feasible to put an industrial use on this property, would it?
It wouldn't, just a small area in terms of going through that use table, any type of industrial use would need some type of support in terms of parking or laydown area. And that residential seems to be the best use of this property, the only use for this property.
Are you aware of any action by the applicant that created a hardship?
No, my understanding is as long as the applicant has owned this property, nothing has changed. It's just a unique piece that was created long ago. Again, I think with the mainly understanding of Franklin Stillwater.
And finally, in your opinion, as a professional engineer, being thoroughly familiar with the site and the Smithfield zoning regulations, if the applicant were denied relief, would it amount to a denial of any all beneficial use of the subject property?
Yes, I believe that that's true, because if he's not allowed
There's
to
water
really home there,
around it.
I can't imagine any other uses that would work there.
Yes, sewer and water fund of the town.
I have no further questions for Mr. Casali. I'm sure if you have any, he'd be happy to
Okay,
answer.
so I believe there is sewer and water connections
There is,
in this, within the street?
yes, we anticipate sewer and water, in Mount.
Joe.
It goes all the way up to the crest.
Springville.
Is water right there?
It basically
I know
comes
what to
from
police sewer.
Pleasant View, and then this is the interceptor that then traverses down to behind the police station.
Yeah, I know we.
30 inches in here?
Sewer on,
Yeah.
they'll keep extending that extension, but yeah, he will have, his house will have gravity sewer and domestic, Greenville.
Is Greenville water right there?
Yeah, it's Greenville one, yeah.
Okay.
Joe, could you go back to the slide that has the kind of general site plan? Yep, this one right here. So the question I have is what side yard are you guys deriving the relief from?
We are deriving relief from this side.
So my question goes to, there's a second lot that is over here that is listed as AP 17 Lot 2, that I am pretty certain the river edge is the property line. What I'm wondering is this more of a restrictive dimension than this is?
The applicant, I don't believe that it is, the applicant owns both of those lots.
But because they're non-residential, they don't get merged.
They don't get merged. And we're not against the merger of the lots. It would just be fiscally irresponsible for all that survey to do an administrative.
Yeah, I mean, does it make sense to just amend it to what this dimension is versus the 32 feet?
I believe the 32 feet is most restricted, based on, I know that we've left the survey in your package. And if we look at the property line, property line to the adjacent parcel is a little bit a ways away, and that parcel is 17-2.
Two, yep.
This is 18-80, and next to it is 17-2. As unique as this one entirely rent, under the same ownership of it as the applicant. So the question is that line more restricted than this one? I don't believe that it is. Based on the survey.
So you have 32 feet off the left side, right? You're asking for a relief of 32 feet.
I just saw the dimension that's,
Relief of 8 feet on the
No.
left side, but you're saying the right side is another property line. I thought that was just a water line.
well, that is the separate parcel, but if you kind of read some of the deed history, it essentially follows the river edge.
Okay.
So the river edge now becomes a side yard. Now, on the plan, there was a dimension kind of inside the corner here, and it was
15 feet from the-
15 feet, but I couldn't determine whether that was to the wetland edge, or alternatively, does it go to the river edge?
I don't believe that river's edge is a problem. Based on my survey, I don't believe that river, what I was trying to show here is the flood zone. Looking at, the zoning plan we submitted, there's a good shot of it in the overall property limits. You can see the difference between, 1880 and 1702. While I do agree that the corner of that house is closer to the river edge than the, northernmost property line, I don't believe the river's edge is the property. This is all based on a class 3 comprehensive boundary survey, recently done. Again, the cumbersome nature of trying to control our rights, trying to survey this. So what we're asking for is 32 of the 40 feet, which in terms of side yard setback, and then asking for 68 of the 100 feet, that no structure will be built, in a non-residential zone within 100 feet of a residential.
I thought the side relief is 8 feet.
It is.
Yeah,
It's
you don't need 32 feet.
We are at 32, David, code says it's gonna be 40 in an industrial zone.
Right.
But furthermore, there's a section 5.3.4, that no structures shall be erected in a non-residential zone within 100 feet of a residential zone. And so, now that side yard setback becomes 100 feet, for that particular section. Hence, we're asking for 68 feet of relief, being 32 feet of wall.
But your side yard is 8 feet.
It is.
Relief.
It is.
Correct.
And that's to the northwest side of the property.
That's correct.
Is the easiest way to handle this, when the state amended the land use regulations in 2023, there was the ability of the zoning official to grant relief. If, as the design advances and further surveys are done, if it becomes that more relief may be necessary.
We could ask for administrative, we could not, I think it would work within the ratios.
I think that gives you kind of, if as
A
things
way out,
advance.
a way out, yeah,
So you don't have to come back.
yeah.
So, Mr. King, and I understand all about the setbacks and everything, but if we're looking at this, obviously, the majority of the property around it is residential. So if we're looking at it as a land use situation, the most beneficial thing to go there would be a single-family home.
Correct.
Because there is no use for an industrial situation there. And if it was a lot which was less square footage than required, let's say in an R20 zone, if we done the percentages, okay, basically, we would be coming close.
If this was zone residential, I think we would be asking you for one piece of relief, which is the
Exactly.
front yard
It
setback.
would be close
Yeah.
if the percentages were done. I mean, I'm looking at this basically from a planning standpoint, from a land use standpoint, from a zoning standpoint. And in reviewing something like this, that I would do, looking at this, yes, it is a use variance. But logistically,
Yes,
it's a
that's
residential
what I
zone.
was, that's what I was going to get.
Basically.
I call it a common sense application is kind of,
It's all residential. And like you said, and like I would review this here, if by the new law, doing the percentages, you would probably be asking for maybe one or two items of the
I
zone.
think we'd be asking for one item, the front yard
Basically,
setback.
I mean, I
That's it.
haven't done
Yeah.
the calculation, but if I went to do the calculation based on the R20, I think I would come close.
Yeah.
That you would be asking me one or two.
That's what I'm.
You know, you have
I'm in
water, you have sewer,
We'd be asking for one because we're not creating a lot. So if we were creating a lot, then we'd have to get into the percentages of buildable land and not, but the lot's non-existent. We'd be asking for, if this was properly zoned R20, which it should be, but life's not perfect, and I'm sure when they get around to it, I would think they'll zone it R20, we would be asking you for one thing, front yard setback relief.
exactly.
Period.
And the other thing is too, having the situation like this, you know, you're going to be going to DEM anyway. So DEM is going to scrutinize this plan up and down. And then, of course, if Mr. Casali is going to design the foundation to this, you know, it's engineered with DEM approval, with the surrounding area being basically a majority of all residential. So the industrial use really is not even an issue, except for the fact that it was zoned that way years ago. And the hardship is that I don't think any industrial use would probably go there.
No, we looked at storage facilities and this and that.
And I'm sure if someone, over the years of the ownership, if someone was going to do an industrial zone, it would have already been done.
Yeah, I think it's one of the few cases that you see that actually meets the test for a use variance.
Well, this is a very, very, very unique piece.
It is. There's no doubt about it.
My guess is that these were surplus to prevent encumbrances when the industrial subdivision was created.
Yeah.
They
what it
they
looks like, yeah.
basically give you the 100-foot to the residential zone.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Well, my comments here is the,
And Mr. Duffy's going to testify too, just so,
what's that?
I'm going to have Mr. Duffy testify briefly also, if you don't mind.
Okay. Mr. Duffy, please state your name, please.
Edward Duffy. Edward P. Duffy.
Okay. Raise your hand, right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
Ed, where do you live?
182 Austin Avenue,
And what town is that in?
Smithfield,
And how long have you lived there?
28 years.
And you're active in the Smithfield community and the Rhode Island community as a licensed real estate broker, is that correct?
I am. I've been a licensed agent for 31 continuous years.
And you own this property with your son, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are your plans for this property?
We would like to build a modest single-family home. We're diversifying a little bit as the business that we're in of brokering real estate changes. We have a great relationship with a local builder, so we're going to try and do something with it.
And you've obviously heard the testimony tonight, you're familiar with the subject property, is that correct?
Yes.
And when we had all that rain last year, did you have an opportunity to view the property from time to time?
I did. I don't know if I was there at peak times of, local flooding, but to the best of my knowledge, the
The area where you're proposing a
Yes, it's somewhat of a hill hump, so I didn't see any
So how-
excess water on the property.
Will the hill be taken down at all for the foundation, and if so, how far will the basement be? The reason why I'm asking these questions is because in the 100-year flood, I live on, off of Smith Avenue, Orchard Avenue. It's a high area. I had water squirting up through my foundation. So that was from an underground river. You're right next to one, so I'm concerned that if you put a basement in, whoever ends up owning this house is gonna end up with a very wet basement.
My answer would be, so the gentleman who I would build this house with would take every precaution to not let that happen. However, if we had to deviate on the design and either, not put a basement or, put a crawl space or whatever it may be, we would do. But as far as we can see, from just, walking the property and looking at soil evaluations and things like that that are a matter of public record, I think that we wouldn't have an issue putting a basement in.
Okay, I was wondering if you would consider putting in like a sump well, so within the basement area, so if it ever does get wet, it's automatically taken care of versus the homeowner trying to do this later on by cutting the foundation to get it all set up.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, we would, it's easier to do when the foundation is going in, so.
Yes.
We'd take preventative measures like that, also, be prepared to put in a radon mitigation system if that was necessary, so it's easier.
I'm sorry. Put in what kind of system?
A radon mitigation system, so just sinking a pipe into the slab of the floor just to be prepared in case, one needed to be put in. So, we will be proactive. We're active in the community. We're not looking to make any enemies.
Excuse me, Mr. Duffy, one second. Mr. Casali. Now, you viewed this property, correct? Okay. As far as, do you, as a professional engineer, because I know you've designed foundations in situations like this, in your determination, not going really into it, in your professional opinion, okay, to remediate the problem that Richard has brought up, and I'm sure there is a resolution by engineering to resolve all problems with this getting the basement flooded or anything like that. So basically, Mr. Duffy, I think if the foundation was engineered after a study of the land, I know Mr. Casali has designed quite a few of these where there were high water tables over there. So my question to you, Mr. Casali, is that there is some sort of remediation to not so much stop the flooding, but design-wise to eliminate this water problem in this foundation.
Yeah, 100% is remediation, is remedial measures that we can do to today's day and age.
Okay, that was my only question.
What was the last part? I couldn't.
In today's day and age, between, just the drains, pumps, waterproofing, I too have a wet foundation, house built in the 70s. Would love to go back in time and redo it under today's, standards with the waterproofing and the drainage, and the internal pumps and the French drains that we can implement. No, it's gonna be.
So if we said that we would at least also require that an engineered foundation be an engineered system for dewatering would be fine?
Yeah, something up to the approval of the town engineer or building official, absolutely. Very approved.
Just want to make a comment. I'm sure Mr. Duffy, being a real estate professional, is building this house that he wants it to be able to be sold, and you're very familiar with inspections and inspectors, and if there were issues like that, they would be coming up, and I'm fairly confident you want to be building a house that's going to be sellable and desirable, so these would all be stipulations you'd be 100% comfortable with, I imagine, anyway.
Absolutely, 100% fine.
Just a few more questions, they're kind of redundant, but I'm doing it for a reason today, right? Mr. Duffy, Duffy, did you do anything to create the hardship for which you're seeking relief?
No, I did not.
And you're obviously familiar with the subject area?
Yes.
And if the board granted relief in your opinion as a licensed real estate broker, would this alter the character of the subject area?
Oh, absolutely not. It's an area of, single families and, duplex style homes.
And if the board denied you relief, would you have any beneficial use of this property if you couldn't build a modest house on it?
No.
I don't have any further questions. The one thing I would like to point out is he's looking at different house designs. So you had that house design that Mr. Casale showed you, and then Ed was considering something along that line, moving the garage around. And I know these aren't in evidence, and perhaps maybe more of a ranch style house, depending on final engineering and everything. So I don't want you to tie it into that specific house. It's gonna be a modest sized house within a footprint, a nice little house on Mount Hill Road.
So the ranch would only be, sorry.
When I come in with a client, they're gonna do an addition, they know exactly what they're gonna do, right? And we show you that, you guys wanna see it, so.
Yep.
We show you that rendering, I can submit these, but I just want him to have flexibility to build something that works on that lot.
Is the plan to have the footprint 900, around 900 feet no matter what, or was that 900 feet for purposes of
900
setback?
Square feet with a garage, a two-car garage. All of those designs are similar, even the ranch, you can get it at all that square feet.
But that's what I was wondering, is that sort of the plan to have about a 900?
Instead of having a house
footprint?
design specified square footage.
1,000 square feet?
Yeah, I would say a footprint of 1,000 square feet, plus the garage, and then the living area. So as the chairman asked earlier, that 900 square feet, that would be about 50, 60.
Well, Mr. Casale, you're gonna be within the footprint, correct? No matter what it is.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that solves that problem.
yeah, he just wants the flexibility if he wants to switch to a ranch, or if he wanted to switch the garage to have what's facing Mount Hill Road. Those are the two pictures that I think is really.
I wouldn't want the building official to look at the PowerPoint and say, how's that?
No, that's not what I think we
No,
want to
that-
do either. It's just wanted to make sure the square footage was going to still maintain the lot. Basically, what's inside stays the same, as far as square footage wise. I just want to make sure that we have,
Mr. Duffy, can you say anything about, did you ever get anybody looking at this property from an industrial standpoint? Since you're in commercial and real
No,
residential?
industrial, no. We actually did market the property for nearly 2 years. We had one gentleman give us a deposit on it, but after looking at it, he couldn't build a house big enough that he felt he could make a profit on, which I respected, and that was his due diligence period, and we voided the contract.
And nothing from the industrial, no one looking at it for an industrial?
No, I tried to promote it that way as garages or something like that, subject to approval, but it didn't work for anyone.
No, that was going to be my next question. How did you market it? Did you market it to see if you could get it residential or market it as it was zoned?
I market both ways. I market it as residential and also to see if anybody wanted to put any type of industrial garage or something like that over there.
Nothing?
No, I've been talking to Tim and Joe with this for the last year and a half.
anybody else have any questions here? All right, before we go into any kind of deliberation, I'd just like to make sure that we have everything accounted for that we talked about. Yep. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 variances requested here now? 6. We got 6, right? So we have relief from the 5.3.1, I think it was 1, or A,
This one,
Just make sure, I'm just trying to make sure I get the right relief here.
Use variance by table 4.3,
Yep,
front yard by Article 5, Section 5.4, Table 1.
give me that one again.
That is the minimum front yard.
Yep,
You have the minimum side yard, which is Article 5, Section 5.4, Table 1.
correct.
You have Article 5, Section 5.3.4, both A and B. And then 5.3.1.A.3.
Point A, 8.3, yep. That was the,
That was the floodplain for the contiguous buildable area.
yep.
Hold on 1 second, just make sure. 5.31 A, I thought that was the 100 feet.
I think it was 50 feet.
3.1.A is
A3, it was 50% lot.
5.3.1.8.3 is the non-residential.
Right.
Non-residential.
100 feet.
Yep.
5.3.4 A and B are the floodplains.
Yep. One is the no structure in the residential. And then one is no structure within jurisdictional wetlands or buffers.
Okay. I'd like to open this to the public. Is there anybody here that would like to talk in favor of this application? Is there anybody here that would like to talk not in favor of this application? That's it. I'll close the public meeting. I'd like to hear a motion.
Chairman, make a motion, we take it under advisement.
Anybody second that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So, a motion to go into deliberations?
So moved.
Second it? I need to have-
Second.
Need a motion, actually.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to go into deliberations.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So let's discuss this.
Well, Mr. Chair, the way I see it, looking at it from a land use standpoint, looking at it from a zoning standpoint, and looking at it from a planning standpoint, the uniqueness of this property in this industrial zone, you know, as Mr. Duffy stated, I think it would be very, very difficult marketing it as any type of industrial. There's all residential around it, and I think that the most beneficial use would be a single-family home. I mean, I am sure that if there was any other interest in it being industrial, someone would have come forward with this probably years ago. So, I mean, I look at it in all different phases, and as I stated before, if this was an R20 zone, and the building official or the zoning official did the percentages, that in actuality, they would only be asking for one section relief, which would be that side yard. So in my estimation, the highest and best use of this property, and logically to this property, would be a single-family home, staying in the parameters that we already stated, with all of the setbacks and all of the variances that we're requesting.
Okay, I mean, the engineering department did come back with in stating that you know, the town does not envision the changing industrial zone.
Sorry, Mr. White.
Sorry. The engineering department came back with their information, and it says the future use of the plan in the common comprehensive plan for the town does not envision a change in industrial zone designation for this parcel. However, given the fact that the portion of the lot to be developed fronts Mountaindale Road, a residential street, that the property is surrounded by residential development, and the nearest industrial building is over 400 feet away, suggests that the proposed lot should not be considered for industrial use. The proposed residential use of this portion of the lot is consistent with the surrounding neighborhood and will not impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan. That was from the planning department. Engineering comment was they had no comments. If approved, they would need to fill out a soil erosion application and a sewer application. Zoning said the subject land is unlikely to yield any use allowed in an industrial zone, which is located due to the shape of the lot and the presence of low wetland throughout the vast majority of the lot area. Basically, I agree with you, Ray, that there's no other purpose for this piece of parcel of land but other than a residential use.
And as he stated, as far as erosion control, that's part of every permit that is issued.
Correct.
So that's something that happens on all of it to maintain during construction, any water going into the street. The situation being that I'm sure that any type of design will take care of the waterproofing of that basement with either French drains, the amount of rock that's put in, with vapor barriers and all of that. Plus, he needs DEM approval. So, at this point, I'd like to make a motion that we pass this application with all the variants that are asked for, pending DEM approval and the review of the building official as for the design of the foundation. And it's a one-family home.
Okay, any other comments here?
There was a discussion about the footprint would be 1,000 feet or up to 1,000?
Up to 1,000.
You can add that to you.
Yeah, as long as the house is built within the confines of the envelope.
Does it make sense also to add that we prefer that the two lots that are in common ownership, albeit non-residential, aren't merged, such that if it were rezoned in the future, we don't create an encumbrance on those lots that are in the industrial subdivision?
Say that again?
So AP 17 Lot 2 is the lot that is to the east of this, that is between this, the small residential subdivision that's on Mountaindale Road, and then the backside of the Enterprise Lane. If 17-2 were to be merged into 1880, that now becomes one lot. And if it were to be rezoned to an R20 zone, we now potentially create an encumbrance on those existing industrial lots that are on Enterprise Lane. Because now you have the residential zone in the 100-foot setback to,
I think we just leave that
Yeah, leave it
the way
on.
it is.
Yeah,
If something comes up in the future that makes that a problematic,
then they have to come back to the board.
we have a board here to work out it then.
we do. Trying to save people trips.
Right.
So as stated, that's my motion.
Okay,
Second.
any other comments? Huh?
Can we get the 1,000 square feet plus the garage?
I got it.
Okay.
We got it.
Whatever is in the envelope, Mr. King, in the envelope of the buildable area, which included that garage.
It was just up to 1,000 feet was, the discussion was as to the footprint for the living space.
Living space, yes, plus the garage. Okay,
Attorney Kane's getting nervous.
Yeah, I know, look at them. Yeah, I know.
You have a motion, it's been second, we can do further discussion
Okay, any further discussions? No? Okay.
and vote.
Ed made a motion, it's been seconded. Let's have a vote. Any,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
All opposed?
Any abstention?
Anybody abstaining?
Abstain.
Okay,
Motion passes.
motion passes. Let's just make sure we have all the little details done.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll email you.
Do we have any minutes to approve from the?
Yes, before, we have a meeting minutes to approve before we end here. I'm looking for, request a motion. Has everybody reviewed last month's meeting minutes?
Yes.
Can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I can make motions, I just can't vote on them.
Yeah, he can't vote on it, he's abstaining.
But he can make the motion.
Yes.
Okay, so Ed, you made
Second.
it. So
Second.
you made it
Second.
and you- Okay.
Whatever.
Everybody was here everybody was here last month, right?
Yes.
And he abstains because he wasn't on.
Because he wasn't here. Okay.
Chairman,
Yes.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. That was a very complicated little piece of property.
I'm looking at that one, I didn't expect that one to go that,
That thing's been up for sale.
Huh?
That thing's been up for sale.
I was chair of the planning board, was on the planning board for